This is gonna blow your mind. In the dead of winter, deep within the Ural Mountains of Russia, 9 experienced hikers set out on a journey into the wilderness. What was meant to be an adventure would soon turn into a nightmare, one that has baffled investigators and intrigued mystery lovers for over 60 years. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, a chilling unsolved mystery that has left more questions than answers. The story begins on January 23, 1959, when a group of 10 hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, embarked on a trek to reach Otorten, a mountain in the northern Urals. These hikers were no strangers to the harsh conditions. They were seasoned, experienced, and prepared. Among them were engineers, students, and sports enthusiasts, all familiar with the challenges they would face. Their journey started like any other. The group was in high spirits, documenting their trip through photos and diaries. Each member brought their unique skills to the table, ensuring they were well equipped to handle the unpredictable wilderness. Their camaraderie was evident as they laughed, shared stories, and meticulously planned each step of their expedition. However, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and turned back, a decision that would ultimately save his life. Despite his departure, the remaining 9 continued onward, unaware that this would be their final expedition. They pressed on through the snow and cold, their spirits undeterred, their eyes set on the goal ahead. Little did they know, the journey ahead would not only test their endurance, but also plunge them into one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 20th century. As they ventured deeper into the Ural Mountains, the weather worsened and the terrain grew more treacherous. But with each step, they remained hopeful, driven by the thrill of the adventure and the bond they shared. It's these moments of unity and determination that make the Dyatlov Pass Incident all the more haunting. How could such a well-prepared group meet such a tragic and mysterious end? The answers remain elusive, shrouded in the very mountains they sought to conquer. When the group failed to return on the expected date, concern grew among their families and friends. The hikers were known for their experience and reliability, so their delay was immediately alarming. Loved ones gathered, sharing their worries and hoping for any news. The sense of unease was palpable, as each passing hour without contact deepened their fears. A search and rescue operation was launched, but the severe weather conditions made the search incredibly difficult. The Ural Mountains were notorious for their harsh winters, and the search teams faced relentless snowstorms and freezing temperatures. Despite their best efforts, visibility was often reduced to mere feet, and the treacherous terrain slowed their progress significantly. For weeks, there was no trace of the hikers. The vast, empty landscape seemed to swallow any clues, leaving the searchers feeling increasingly despondent. Each day brought new challenges, and the hope of finding the group alive began to wane. The relentless cold and snow made every step a struggle, and the searchers' determination was tested to its limits. Then, on February 26, 1959, their abandoned tent was discovered on the slope of Kholat Syakhl, Dead Mountain. This discovery was both a breakthrough and a deepening of the mystery. The tent's location was puzzling, as it was set up in an exposed area rather than a more sheltered spot, which would have been more logical given the severe weather. What the searchers found would only deepen the mystery. The tent, half buried in snow, appeared to have been hastily abandoned. It was as if the hikers had left in a panic. But why? The scene was eerily quiet, with no immediate signs of what had caused such a sudden departure. The tent, half buried in snow, appeared to have been hastily abandoned. The searchers were baffled by the state of the campsite. It was clear that something had gone terribly wrong, but the clues were sparse and confusing. Inside, the searchers found the hikers' belongings, neatly arranged as if they had left in a hurry. Personal items, food supplies, and even a camera were left behind, untouched. This meticulous arrangement suggested that the hikers had not planned to be away for long, adding another layer of perplexity to the situation. The tent itself had been slashed open from the inside, a detail that raised more questions than answers. Why would experienced hikers, who knew the importance of their shelter, tear it apart in such a way? This act of desperation hinted at a sudden and overwhelming threat, but what could it have been? Why would experienced hikers, who knew the importance of their shelter, tear it apart in such a way? The Dyatlov group was well prepared and knowledgeable about the dangers of the environment. Their action suggested a level of fear and urgency that was completely out of character for such seasoned adventurers. As the search expanded, the bodies of the hikers were discovered at varying distances from the tent. This grim discovery only added to the confusion. The bodies were found in different states and locations, some close to the tent and others much farther away, as if they had scattered in different directions. Some were found in a state of undress, a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing, which occurs in the final stages of hypothermia. This behavior, where victims of extreme cold remove their clothing, is a well-documented but still puzzling aspect of hypothermia. It added a tragic and eerie element to the already mysterious circumstances. Others were found with severe injuries, like broken ribs and skull fractures, injuries that seemed inconsistent with the idea of a simple fall or avalanche. These injuries were more akin to those sustained in a violent confrontation or a high-impact accident, yet there were no signs of such events in the area. The discovery of these bodies, scattered and in such a state, only added to the confusion and horror of the situation. The searchers were left with a scene that defied logical explanation, and the families of the victims were plunged into deeper grief and uncertainty. How could this group of seasoned hikers, who had prepared meticulously for their journey, meet such a tragic and inexplicable end? The Dyatlov group had taken every precaution, from their choice of equipment to their planned route. Their fate seemed to contradict everything they had known and prepared for. The search and rescue team, along with the families of the victims, were left with more questions than answers. The lack of clear evidence and the bizarre nature of the findings made it difficult to piece together a coherent narrative of what had happened. The grief of the families was compounded by the sheer incomprehensibility of the tragedy. The mystery of the Dyatlov Pass Incident was only beginning to unfold. As more details emerged, the case attracted widespread attention and speculation. The remote and eerie landscape of the Ural Mountains seemed to hold its secrets tightly, refusing to give up a straightforward explanation. As we delve deeper into this chilling case, we will explore the various theories that have been proposed over the years, each attempting to explain the inexplicable. From natural disasters to human error, and even more outlandish ideas, the range of theories reflects the complexity and enduring fascination of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. From natural disasters to secret military tests, and even the paranormal, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most enduring and haunting mysteries of the 20th century. Each theory offers a different perspective, but none have been able to fully explain the strange and tragic events of that night. As the bodies were retrieved and the investigation began, theories started to emerge. The scene was grim and perplexing, with each discovery adding to the enigma. The rescue teams, braving the harsh conditions of the Ural Mountains, were met with a sight that would haunt them for years. The bodies, some found in a state of undress, others with severe injuries, painted a picture of chaos and desperation. The initial shock soon gave way to a myriad of questions, and as the world learned of the incident, the floodgates of speculation opened wide. Each proposed explanation seemed to pull the mystery in a different direction, adding layers of complexity to an already baffling case. Forensic investigators meticulously examined every piece of evidence, from the hikers' personal belongings to the condition of their tent. The case evidence boards, filled with photos and documents, became a mosaic of clues that hinted at a story far more intricate than anyone could have imagined. Theories ranged from the plausible to the fantastical, each one attempting to make sense of the inexplicable. One of the earliest theories was that an avalanche had forced the hikers to flee their tent in panic. The Ural Mountains, known for their treacherous winter conditions, seemed a fitting backdrop for such a disaster. The idea was that a sudden avalanche had caught the hikers off guard, compelling them to cut their way out of the tent and escape into the freezing night. This theory gained traction due to the chaotic state of the campsite and the scattered belongings found in the snow. The slashed tent and scattered belongings could be explained by a sudden, overwhelming need to escape. The hikers, in a state of sheer terror, might have believed that their only chance of survival was to abandon their shelter immediately. The scene suggested a frantic attempt to flee from an imminent threat, with no time to gather essential items or even dress properly. This image of panic and urgency seemed to fit the narrative of an avalanche, but this theory had its flaws. Skeptical investigators pointed out several inconsistencies that cast doubt on the avalanche hypothesis. Experts noted that the slope of Kholat Syakhl wasn't steep enough to trigger such an avalanche, and the injuries found on the bodies didn't align with what one would expect from such a natural disaster. The lack of significant snow accumulation on the tent further weakened this explanation, leaving many to question its validity. For one, the slope of Kholat Syakhl wasn't steep enough to trigger such an avalanche, and the injuries found on the bodies didn't align with what one would expect from such a natural disaster. The forensic analysis revealed injuries that were more consistent with high-impact trauma rather than the crushing force of an avalanche. This discrepancy led investigators to explore other possibilities, each one more perplexing than the last. Another theory suggested that the hikers had encountered infrasound, a low-frequency sound that can cause feelings of fear, panic, and nausea. This phenomenon, though not widely known, has been documented in certain natural environments. The idea was that the unique topography of the area could have generated infrasound waves, which in turn induced a state of irrational fear among the hikers. This phenomenon, known as the Kármán vortex street, could have driven the group into a state of hysteria, causing them to abandon their tent in a frenzied escape. The simulations of this effect showed how powerful and disorienting infrasound can be, potentially explaining the hikers' seemingly irrational behavior. However, while infrasound might explain the panic, it didn't account for the severe physical injuries or the traces of radiation found on some of the bodies. Yet, while infrasound might explain the panic, it didn't account for the severe physical injuries or the traces of radiation. The presence of radiation on the hikers' clothing was particularly puzzling, as it suggested exposure to a source that was not immediately apparent. This anomaly led some to speculate about more sinister causes, including secret military activities. Then there were the more sinister theories. The idea that the hikers had encountered something far more dangerous than natural forces began to take hold. Shadowy figures and mysterious nighttime scenes in the mountains fueled speculation about human involvement in the tragedy. Some believed that the group had stumbled upon secret military tests. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was known for conducting clandestine experiments and tests in remote areas. The possibility that the hikers had inadvertently walked into a restricted zone where such activities were taking place seemed plausible to some. The Soviet Union, during the Cold War, was known for conducting clandestine experiments. These experiments, often shrouded in secrecy, ranged from weapons testing to psychological operations. The idea that the hikers had become collateral damage in one of these covert operations was a chilling thought, but it seemed to fit some of the evidence. Could the hikers have been unfortunate witnesses to something they weren't meant to see? The presence of restricted area signs and the possibility of military personnel in the vicinity added weight to this theory. The hikers' injuries, which included blunt force trauma and internal damage, were consistent with the kind of force that could be inflicted by military-grade weapons or equipment. The radiation found on their clothing and the forceful injuries suggested something more than a simple accident. The combination of these factors pointed to an external influence, one that was both powerful and dangerous. However, despite the compelling nature of this theory, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to support it. This theory. The lack of official documentation or credible witnesses left this explanation in the realm of speculation. The empty investigation rooms and discarded military documents symbolized the frustrating dead ends that plagued this line of inquiry. And finally, the most outlandish, yet persistent theory, the supernatural. The idea that the hikers had encountered something otherworldly captured the imagination of many. From yetis to other cryptid creatures, these theories added a fantastical element to the already mysterious case. Some speculated that the hikers had encountered a yeti or some other cryptid creature. The footprints found in the snow, though not conclusively identified, fueled these speculations. Artist renditions of these creatures brought the theory to life, making it a popular topic of discussion among those fascinated by the paranormal. Others suggested UFOs, pointing to the strange lights reported in the sky around the time of the incident. Eyewitness accounts of unidentified flying objects and unexplained lights added another layer of intrigue. The possibility that the hikers had encountered extraterrestrial beings or advanced technology was both thrilling and terrifying. While these explanations capture the imagination, they remain on the fringes of credibility. Speculative discussions and imaginative storytelling often overshadowed the more grounded theories, but they kept the mystery alive in popular culture. The allure of the unknown and the supernatural ensured that these theories would never be completely dismissed. Each theory, whether grounded in science or steeped in the paranormal, leaves us with more questions than answers. The thoughtful expressions of experts and the juxtaposition of scientific theories with paranormal ideas highlighted the complexity of the case. The Dyatlov Pass incident defied easy explanations, challenging our understanding of both the natural and the supernatural. As we navigate through these possibilities, one thing becomes clear. The truth of what happened on that night in the Ural Mountains remains shrouded in mystery. The nighttime view of the Ural Mountains and the eerie silence of the hikers' campsite served as a haunting reminder of the unanswered questions that still linger. The Dyatlov Pass incident continues to be a puzzle, a chilling reminder of how little we sometimes understand about our world and the forces within it. The contemplative investigators and the eerie mountain landscapes underscored the sense of unresolved mystery that surrounds the case. Despite decades of research and countless theories, the true nature of the events that transpired that fateful night remains elusive. What could have driven these experienced hikers to flee their tent in such a state of panic? Over the years, countless theories have been proposed, each as mysterious as the last. The most widely accepted theory is that of an avalanche, forcing the group to cut their way out of the tent in a desperate attempt to survive. But the lack of substantial evidence of an avalanche and the nature of the injuries leave many doubting this explanation. Some believe the hikers stumbled upon a secret military test, perhaps involving parachute mines or radiological weapons. This theory is supported by the presence of radiation on their clothing, but it raises more questions than it answers. Another theory suggests that a rare wind phenomenon known as Kármán vortex street may have caused infrasound, a low-frequency sound wave that can induce panic and hallucinations. Could this have driven the hikers to madness? And then there are the paranormal explanations, from UFOs to Yeti attacks. While these theories are often dismissed, the lack of concrete evidence has allowed them to persist in the public imagination. But there's one more angle to consider, an angle that blurs the line between the physical and the psychological. Could the hikers have fallen victim to an unseen force, something that transcends our understanding of reality? Some experts suggest the possibility of a collective psychosis, triggered by the extreme conditions and isolation. In this state, hallucinations and irrational behavior could have spread like a contagion, driving the group to their tragic end. In 2019, the Russian government reopened the investigation into the mysterious Dyatlov Pass incident, a case that has baffled experts and enthusiasts for decades. This renewed effort aimed to bring closure to the families of the victims and to quell the rampant speculation that has surrounded the event since it occurred in 1959. After extensive research and analysis, the official conclusion was that an avalanche was the most likely cause of the tragic deaths of the 9 hikers. This explanation, while plausible, has not satisfied everyone. Despite the government's findings, this conclusion has done little to quell the curiosity and skepticism of researchers and enthusiasts alike. Many believe that the avalanche theory does not account for all the peculiar details of the case. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a mystery, shrouded in the eerie and unforgiving landscape of the Ural Mountains. The harsh conditions and remote location have only added to the enigma, making it a subject of endless fascination. The cold, unforgiving landscape of the Ural Mountains holds secrets that may never be uncovered. The extreme weather conditions and the isolation of the area make it a challenging environment for any investigation. Despite the official verdict, independent researchers and amateur sleuths continue to seek answers. They are driven by a desire to uncover the truth and to solve one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 20th century. Modern technology has provided new tools for investigating this decades-old case. Advances in forensic science, computer modeling, and other technologies have opened up new avenues of inquiry. Advanced simulations and forensic analyses have been employed to test various theories. These methods allow researchers to recreate the conditions of the night in question and to explore different scenarios. Some researchers have used 3D modeling to recreate the scene, examining the plausibility of an avalanche and other natural phenomena. These models can provide valuable insights into what might have happened. By examining the plausibility of an avalanche and other natural phenomena, researchers hope to find a more comprehensive explanation for the events that transpired. However, these modern investigations often raise more questions than they answer. For instance, why were some of the hikers' bodies found with injuries resembling those from a high-impact collision, yet without any external trauma? This discrepancy has puzzled experts and has led to various theories, ranging from secret military tests to encounters with unknown forces. The internal injuries without corresponding external trauma are particularly baffling. Some have suggested that the force required to cause such injuries could only come from a powerful, yet undetectable source. Another perplexing detail is the presence of radiation on some of the hikers' clothing. How can we reconcile this with the avalanche theory? The radiation levels were not high enough to be immediately lethal, but they were significant enough to raise questions. And why did some of the hikers flee the tent in such a state of undress, despite the freezing temperatures? This behavior suggests a sudden and overwhelming fear, but what could have caused it? The freezing temperatures and the state of undress of the hikers add another layer of mystery. Hypothermia can cause paradoxical undressing, but this does not fully explain the circumstances. One recent study even proposed that a slab avalanche, a more localized and less obvious type of snowslide, could explain the tent damage and some of the injuries. This theory suggests that a slab of snow could have shifted and caused the initial panic. A slab avalanche is a plausible explanation for some aspects of the incident, but it still leaves many questions unanswered. For example, it does not account for the radiation or the internal injuries without external trauma. Yet, this theory still leaves many aspects unexplained, such as the peculiar state of the hikers' bodies and the traces of radiation. The debate among researchers continues, with no definitive answers in sight. The peculiar state of the hikers' bodies and the traces of radiation remain some of the most confounding elements of the case. These details have fueled countless theories and speculations. As time goes on, the Dyatlov Pass Incident continues to capture the imagination of those who encounter its story. Books, documentaries, and online forums keep the discussion alive, with new theories emerging regularly. The combination of natural dangers, potential human error, and the possibility of unknown forces creates a narrative that is both compelling and haunting. The story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident is a perfect storm of mystery and intrigue. The possibility of unknown forces at play adds an element of the supernatural to the narrative. Whether it's secret military tests, extraterrestrial encounters, or otherworldly phenomena, the theories are as varied as they are fascinating. More than 6 decades later, the Dyatlov Pass Incident continues to haunt those who seek answers. The tragic fate of the 9 hikers serves as a reminder of the dangers of the wilderness and the limits of human understanding. Perhaps it's the very lack of closure that keeps us coming back, searching for the truth in a story as cold and dark as the Siberian winter. The unanswered questions and the eerie details make it a mystery that refuses to be forgotten. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most chilling mysteries of the 20th century. It's a story that captures our imagination and reminds us of the unknown lurking just beyond the reach of our understanding. So, what do you think really happened on that fateful night in the Ural Mountains? Was it a natural disaster, a secret military experiment, or something far more mysterious? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you found this deep dive into the Dyatlov Pass Incident intriguing, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to uncover, and you won't want to miss the next mystery we explore. And if you're looking for more chilling unsolved cases and dark mysteries, be sure to check out the videos on screen now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious and keep searching for the truth. What really happened on that fateful night in the Ural Mountains?